Do you ever notice that when we were kids, or who knows, even now maybe, that everyone kind of carried this idea that one day something huge was going to happen to us? Some insane opportunity, some kind of this is why you were born type of thing. It's like we grew up assuming there was a script already written for our lives and all we had to do was step into it. And maybe it's not even just from movies or stories, though those definitely planted it in us, but from the way people talk. But the older I get, the more I wrestle with this, is that what if that moment never comes? What if there isn't some destiny waiting with our name stamped on it? What if most of life is just smaller than we thought it'd be? And that's a scary thought, right? Because it feels like admitting that is giving up, like you're settling. But at the same time, maybe it's just being honest. Not everybody gets the world-changing story arc, and not everybody becomes the CEO, the billionaire, the influencer with millions of followers. And yet we still kind of expect it for ourselves. And it's weird, because even when you know that statistically most people live quote-unquote normal lives, there's still this quiet voice that goes, yeah, but not me, I'll be the exception. Like we can't even picture ourselves being average. We're always the one who's supposed to get lucky and to blow up, to stumble into greatness. But then years pass and that voice gets quieter. You realize time doesn't pause while you wait for destiny to show up. And maybe this is where the real wrestling starts, because if you're not chosen or special in that sense, then what is your life supposed to be about? There's this tension that I can't get rid of, and it's on one hand, chasing that big destiny makes things feel exciting, like it gives you a reason to keep going. And on the other hand, it can make everyday life feel empty, like you're just killing time until the real story starts. It's like none of this right now even counts. But what if this is it? Like what if the story isn't waiting in some future moment, but it's already happening right now, in ways that aren't glamorous or Instagram worthy? That's where it gets uncomfortable, because that means maybe we're already living the thing we thought was coming. And if that's true, then how do you measure it? How do you accept that? And I'm not saying I have answers to this, I'm just being real about where I'm at. Because honestly, I don't know if I like the idea that life might be smaller than I thought, but then I think maybe small isn't even the right word. Maybe it just looks different than the dramatic version that we've been sold. It reminds me of this weird pattern that I notice. When people finally get the big thing that they've always wanted, it never feels the way they thought it would. Athletes talk about winning championships, and the next day they're depressed because it didn't fix their life. Celebrities talk about fame being empty. Even people who make millions realize they're just the same person with more stuff. So maybe the problem isn't that we don't get our destiny. Maybe we've built up this idea of destiny as something it never really was in the first place. Like we made it bigger in our heads than it could actually ever be. And I'm sitting here at 21 thinking about this. Like, am I going to spend the next 10 years waiting for life to finally start? Or is this it? And if this is it, how do I not waste it while I'm waiting for some imaginary future? The wrestle is for me is that I don't want to stop believing in something bigger, because that's kind of what gives life juice. But I also don't want to live in a fantasy where I'm ignoring what's already right in front of me. That balance is tricky, and honestly, I haven't figured it out. Like, imagine if your whole purpose wasn't some dramatic movie scene, but just the way you carry yourself in the normal boring stuff. How you treat people at work, how you show up for your friends, how you spend a Tuesday afternoon when nobody's watching. That sounds almost too simple, but maybe that's where the weight of life actually is. Still, I can't shake that itch, that feeling that something more is out there. And maybe that's just part of being human. Maybe it's hardwired into us to always expect something bigger than where we're at. Maybe that's why people chase success or religion or art or whatever. It's all reaching for that more we can't quite put into words. So yeah, I don't know if there's a grand destiny waiting or if we're just telling ourselves that so we don't feel pointless. I just know I don't want to waste my life waiting for a moment that never comes. You ever just sit with the thought that one day you're gonna die, and most people won't even know you were here? Like, that sounds dramatic, but it's true. 100 years from now, nobody's gonna remember my name. Maybe my grandkids will. Maybe their kids will if I'm lucky. But eventually the line breaks, and then I'm just gone. Like I never even existed. And I don't know about you, but that thought eats at me sometimes. Because deep down, I don't want to just be another face in the crowd. I don't want my whole life to add up to a couple photos and a dusty album that nobody looks at. There's this hunger to matter, to leave something behind, to not be ordinary. But then I catch myself asking, what does ordinary even mean? Like, is it ordinary to live in one town your whole life, work a job, raise a family, and then pass quietly? To society, yeah, that's average. But to the people who actually knew you, maybe that's massive. Maybe you were everything. And still, it doesn't shake the fear. There's this whisper in my head that says, you're supposed to do more than this. Like, if I just disappear into normal life, then I wasted the chance. And I don't even know who I'm trying to impress with that. Myself? some invisible scoreboard in the sky, the random strangers who don't even care. It's crazy because when you zoom out, even the people that we think are legendary, most of them get forgotten too. Think about it. There were kings, generals, whole empires that thought they'd last forever. Now they're just footnotes in a history textbook. If that's the fate of people who literally shaped the world, what does that mean for someone like me, who's just trying to figure life out at 21? And that's where it gets heavy, because if even the greats get erased by time, then what hope do I have of leaving anything permanent? It makes you wonder if the whole chase to be special is just one big illusion, a trick our brains play so we don't feel like specks of dust. But even if I know that logically, emotionally it still stings. Nobody really wants to be forgotten, and nobody wants to think that their life didn't matter. And I think that's why people do extreme things. Start wars, chase fame, grind themselves into the ground for money. Because deep down, they're just terrified of being ordinary. And here's where I get stuck. Is being ordinary actually bad, or do we just think it is because of the way we've been wired? Like maybe we've been fed this idea that only special lives count, but maybe that's not true. Still, I can't shake the feeling that if I don't do something big, then I wasted my chance. It's almost like we're fighting against our own mortality. We know that time's gonna erase us, but we try to outrun it anyway. And that's exhausting, man. Like imagine running your whole life trying to leave a mark, only to realize the mark fades no matter what. So what then? Do we just accept being forgettable? Do we embrace it? That feels almost impossible. Nobody wants to say out loud, yeah, I'm cool with being irrelevant. But maybe it's not about being remembered by everyone. Maybe it's about being remembered by the right few. Like if your mom, your best friend, your future kids, if they look back and go, yeah, he mattered, maybe that's enough. But then the other part of me kicks in and goes, no, don't settle for that. You're meant for more. I don't know if that's ambition or pride or just fear disguised as drive. All I know is it's loud, and it doesn't shut up easily. And I think that's the wrestle right now. Figuring out if it's okay to just be one of billions passing through, leaving small ripples instead of waves, or if I'm supposed to keep chasing something bigger, even if it burns me out. I don't have a neat bow to tie this with because honestly I don't know where I land. Some days I feel like I can accept being ordinary. Like maybe that's the real peace, to stop pretending I need to be remembered forever. Other days, it eats at me, so much that I feel like I have to do something wild just to prove that I existed. And maybe that's the human condition. To know that we're temporary, but still want to carve our names in the wall before we go, even if the wall eventually crumbles. So yeah, I don't have the answer. I just know the fear of being ordinary is real, and it doesn't go away just because you tell yourself not to care. It's something you wrestle with over and over. Maybe the whole point isn't solving it, it's just living with the tension.